Hello, friends. Hello. We're back. Raquel from Our Infinite Nature
Sarah from Hella Fluid Collective.
and we're back to discuss the not so casual Scorpio new moon on November 1st. And I wish I could say this was going to be a super casual, chill lunation, but like Scorpio don't play like that. Scorpio's not here for that. Scorpio
No,
loves intensity, and she's bringing some intensity to this entire Scorpio season, which goes right through the election season here in the United States, but also for this very potent Scorpio new moon we have on the first. And when I felt it intuitively to the energy of the Scorpio new moon, the theme that came through was actually recognizing our receptivity. And so there's actually a really big theme around this new moon for us to open to receive the more we truly desire and the more that the universe is actually flowing our way. And with that recognition of our receptivity, with that recognition of the invitation to open more, is also perhaps a recognition of where we're closed, of where we're full and can't allow anything more in, of where we might need to clear out some space so that we can open. And that's actually a really big theme with this new moon in Scorpio. And before we went live, Sarah and I were kind of chatting about this moon and just like the themes of the moon in general. And one thing that was really interesting to both of us was that the last full moon we had, which was the Aries full moon 2 weeks ago, felt very much like a new moon. It was like all these new beginnings and fresh new energy. And this Scorpio new moon, even though it is a beautiful invitation for more and for newness, there is so much of a full moon feel to it of releasing what's kind of taking up space, what's in the way right now. So I just think that's
yeah,
really interesting that, like, yes, it's a new moon, but it has some full moon vibes, which also feels oh so very Scorpio. Oh, so very Scorpio.
very different.
Yeah. So before we jump into the astrology, of which I know there is a lot with this lunation, and Sarah's gonna help us out and kind of bring that into a nice, pretty package for us. I just want to speak a little bit about Scorpio energies themselves, because they're powerful, they're intense, and I think Scorpio is probably one of the most transformative signs in the entire
Oh yeah,
zodiac. I really think of
absolutely.
Scorpio as being unlimited and its capacity for change,
Yep.
which as someone with a lot, like with a Taurus moon and Cancer sun, Cancer rising, like that is so inspiring to me because sometimes change for me, I like drag my feet. It takes me some time. I got to be patient with
Right.
myself. But one of my best friends is a Scorpio and my one of my daughters is a Scorpio. And oh
Okay.
my gosh, one of my best friends, her Scorpio energy, the way she manifests, the way she moves through challenges, the way she heals is such an inspiration for me. And I
Mm,
really see that so much as Scorpio energy because Scorpio, ruled by Pluto and Mars, right, Sarah?
yep.
I mean, Scorpio is all about the death rebirth cycle, just over and over again.
Over and over. Yep.
And Scorpio really, really understands what it means to be a complex human and dance in both the shadowy depths as well as the sunlit shallows.
Yep.
Scorpio understands that dance so well. And so Scorpio always invites us into our own depths, to our own shadows. And it does so with glee.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a Scorpio rising, so I'm a Scorpio rising. I have Pluto in my first house,
Ooh, boy.
and on top of that, Pluto con is conjunct a majority of my planets. So like I'm going through a very impactful Pluto transition
Yeah.
pretty much all the time throughout my whole life. Like Pluto is a very important planet to me. So I'm someone who loves transformation. Like I'm always looking for growth because even though it's hard to get through, the feeling of getting through it and who you are afterwards feels so good. Like I
Hmm.
also have a lot of fixed energy, so I understand that too. But to me, the scariest feeling is being in the same place for too long. And
Yeah.
not in a like runaway escape way, which I do have a taste of that because Pisces too. But it is just about constantly looking for growth because it just feels better to learn new things and to learn more about yourself. So that's why whenever I talk about Scorpio or Pluto, I'm always here for it. Because I mean, we could do a lot better, us as a society as well. You know, I don't want to be in the same
Yeah.
spot. I want us to continue growing. So bring it on.
Yeah. That's so beautiful. And honestly, I mean, that is the soul's journey. I
Yeah,
personally believe that every soul comes here to grow, to experience things it
agreed.
has not yet experienced, to
I agree.
come full circle in certain ways with things it might have experienced from other lifetimes. But there's always that hunger, that yearning, that desire for true soul growth. And so when you are speaking to that Scorpio energy, that hunger for growth, that's actually very aligned with the energy of our soul, the energy of
Mm,
of life itself in so many ways. And I think stagnancy, change, all of that, it's a very interesting concept because I don't know about all of you listening. I know personally, I ask for change, I pray for change, and yet I also fear change,
yeah,
right?
both can be
And
true.
there's these times in my own life where I recognize like the thing that would feel worse is if nothing was to change. If everything was just to stay the same, that would actually be so boring or just, that I don't want that, right? Um, but then there's also these moments in time where you're like, I'm actually really content and I don't want anything to change. And yet it's going to change anyway. Because
You know, yeah.
we live on a planet that is literally hurtling through space, dancing around a sun that is also hurtling through space. So, in truth, there is nothing that is ever stagnant. We live on a
Right.
constantly moving, constantly expanding universe, right? That being said, in our own perceptions, it can feel as though things stagnate. And you might feel around this new moon, around this Scorpio new moon, you might feel as though the things that feel stagnant in your life are like screaming at you because this new moon is inviting you to go right into those places, to go into that feeling of stagnation, to actually surrender into the feelings that
Hmm.
maybe you've been pushing off, to actually let yourself feel it, to
Yeah.
understand that is where the transformation will come from.
Yeah.
Not from
Yes,
avoiding it, not
absolutely.
from changing it before we even look at it and understand it and accept it to begin with,
Yep.
but just first and foremost, let yourself feel it. And from there, there's so much we can do. I think, when I was thinking about or feel it when I was feeling into the energy of this particular Scorpio moon, it was really interesting because it took me, I'm an energy worker. So it took me to like the kind of the collective heart chakra of all of us. If like we were to take all of humanity and put it into one person, going to that person's heart chakra. And we went to the back of the heart chakra. This is what I was getting intuitively. And what it was sharing with me was that there was so much energy coming toward the back of the heart, everything that people are calling in, the more that we're desiring, it's all right there, but it's like bottlenecking. It's just like pushing against this little small opening and it can't get in. And it really felt like this big congestion wanting to come in, but we just can't open to receive it. And so when I
Mm,
was kind of the message I was getting was, hey, notice what it is you're asking more for, how much space you have in your life to welcome that in.
mm,
And then if it does come, how do you maintain it? How can you hold it? Because I think sometimes we ask for the thing without ever thinking about if I attain it, then what? How
hmm.
do I hold this vibration of attaining this thing that I want, right?
Right.
So I think that's coming through. We have to create space for it. And creating space is really about going into those areas that feel a little full and discerning what actually is benefiting me here and what isn't. So I know that there's a lot of other transits happening that probably will support us with
Yes.
this. So Sarah,
Yes.
can you share with us a little bit about the astrology around this new moon and how it can help us to both release and let in
Yes.
what it is we desire?
Absolutely. So there are a lot of planets that are activated in this new moon chart. I'm going to start with the more intense transit. So as we mentioned before, Scorpio is traditionally ruled by Mars, and in modern astrology, it's ruled by Pluto. And these two planets are having a conversation of tension 2 days after the full moon. So it's not exact, but it's definitely a big part of this new moon chart. And with Mars and Pluto, these are two planets that, when they're in opposition or square, it's going to have us feeling a bit triggered. Um, both of them can have us feeling defensive.
Yeah.
Pluto can be, Pluto is about our survival needs. And when it's activated, especially by Mars, we could feel like those needs are at threat. And when our survival needs kick in, we're kind of more animalistic and we're not acting necessarily out of logic.
Yeah.
And Mars is sitting uncomfortably in the sign of Cancer, uncomfortably because it doesn't like to be there. And Mars in Cancer, and it's there for an extended time because we're about to have Mars retrograde, is about acting out of our emotions. So we have this animalistic survival need to get my needs met and this emotional instinct. Um, so together, those can just make people act out. So
Yeah.
I just say that to say, kind of, if you aren't, other people might be. So maybe don't take things so personally, which might be hard with Mars in Cancer. Now, Pluto is finishing its transit through Capricorn, which for the last 20 years has been about redefining, transforming our relationship with the systems that structure society.
Yeah.
So that's our government, infrastructure, um,
Financial
societal
system.
pressures, financial systems, isms, racism, sexism, all these things, right? These systems that structure. So Mars over here is about our emotional instincts. Pluto on the other side is about the external forces. So these two are having this push-pull conversation, but I think it's so important because it really, oh, and not to mention, both of these planets are in the 29th
Oh,
degree of
that's right.
each respective sign. Yeah,
Ooh,
which is a very intense
intense.
degree. It's super intense, all these things, but it's a point of like a final test.
Yeah.
So all of these lessons that you've learned while this planet has been transiting that sign, it comes to this culmination point of like, have you really learned the lessons? If you have, great. We're just going to give you one final test to make sure. If you haven't, we're going to give you one little crisis so that you do learn. So that's kind of what the 29th degree is about. It's like a super, and that's why there's no cusps. Really, if someone's like, oh, I'm the day before, it turns into Taurus, so I'm on the cusp. Like, it's actually not true. It just means you're like a super Aries. Like the 29th degree just means you're super that sign.
Wow.
Um, anyways, so I just say that to say it's a very necessary transit for us to really understand the difference and the push pull between what we want emotionally and intuitively versus those external forces.
Yeah.
So it'll be
Yeah.
kind of this like final lesson around that, which I think is very important. The great news is that it's super supported by water energy. So we don't have an exact grand water trine, but it's only 2 degrees outside of being exact. So this is really wonderful and supportive, and it's going to give this sustainable approach to making it through this crisis moment, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it might be tricky. It might also not be because we have the support, and it's going to be intuitive support, emotional support, spiritual support. So, we're going to grow in all of those ways. And just in case I wasn't intense enough, not all, so Mars is obviously in the 29th degree. I think it's either Neptune or Mercury. I forgot. I'm sorry. One of those is also in the 29th degree. So this trine is also another kind of culmination
Yeah.
moment. So a lot of these planets are in these latter degrees, which just kind of marks the end of some cycles, which
Yeah.
really speaks to what you were talking about, Raquel, about finishing some things out, learning those final lessons, and making room for the next thing.
Yeah. And
So,
probably why this new moon feels so much like a full moon, because there's like
oh,
so many
absolutely.
culminating energies around it with these other transits.
Exactly.
Yeah, it makes a lot of
Exactly. Spot
sense.
on. So this grand trine includes Mars, which means it's going to soften the intensity of the opposition, which is wonderful news. Another layer of wonderful news is that Pluto is forming a loose sextile with Neptune and Mercury as well. So another layer of just softening
Yeah.
that harshness of the Mars opposite to Pluto transit.
Yeah.
So again, we just have support emotionally to make it through this hardship.
Yeah. And that's why I think, honestly, one of the best ways to work with and manifest with this Scorpio new moon is to do some shadow work, is to actually let
Yeah,
yourself do some kind of therapeutic shadow work to kind of let yourself, and again, do this with support if you need it, whether you have a coach or a therapist or just a trusted loved one. You know, no person is an island. None of us are out here trying to do it on our own. If you need support, please ask for it. Of course, of course, of course. But you just please know you are being supported
yeah,
around this lunation for that type of inner inquiry. And it's exactly that kind of inner inquiry, that type of shadow work, that type of going deep into yourself and accepting and loving and giving compassion to yourself for wherever you're at. That is actually how we increase our capacity to receive more. That
yes,
is actually how we
exactly.
surrender into our healing, transmute what is not serving us into what is serving us, which creates the space for us to receive the more that wants to come in, which is the entire theme of this new moon.
Perfectly wrapped up.
Yep. So I think we're just going to call it.
Perfect. Yeah.
So,
The
friends.
perfect summary. I love it.
So this was a really, I mean, I love doing this with you, Sarah, because this was such a perfect example of how, I kind of feel into the energy that I'm feeling around the moon through my conversation with the moon herself. And then you kind of back it up with the astrology, the transits that are influencing what I'm feeling energetically. And then those two
Yes.
things just really, complement each other. So
Oh,
I love doing this
absolutely.
with you so much,
I
Sarah.
love it.
So much
Me
fun.
too. It lights me up.
And I hope all of you friends who are watching, listening, I hope that you're enjoying this as well. Please, if you are enjoying it, like, subscribe, share, save, do all the things. You can follow me here at Our Infinite Nature Raquel. Please also follow Sarah at Hella Fluid Collective, and that can be here on YouTube as well as the other social areas. We'll link all that below. If you want more information around this new moon in Scorpio, please check out the Moonblog. I have it listed below. We have some prompts in there, like if you're like, what do I manifest with this new moon? Go to the moon blog. I got it all listed out there for you. And Sarah has the astrology transits out there for you as well. So if you want some more information, it's all there for you. I hope you all have a very happy new moon in Scorpio. You know what? It's not a happy. I hope you all have a very deep and transformative and
Feel the
self-loving
feels.
new moon
Yes.
in Scorpio because happy is not the right word for it. Let's just be authentic. Let's be
Be
real.
real.
Yeah,
It's deep.
Scorpio wants it.
Okay. Yeah. Also, I do just want to say Raquel sends her moon blogs out via email, which I really look forward to getting in my inbox every couple of weeks. It's a nice reminder to tap into that. So make sure you subscribe to her newsletter so that you don't have to check into YouTube to see when this video comes out. You can just get it straight to your inbox.
Thank you. Yes, and we'll have the video link in there for you too, right in that moon letter. Thank you, Sarah. I'm really bad at remembering to do that. So thank
I
you.
remember for you. I love that newsletter, so gotta share.
That's how we found each other. That's how we
It's
found each other.
true.
So
It's true.
I'm so grateful for that. All right. Well, I hope you all have a powerful, transformative lunation. Sarah and I will be back in about 2 weeks' time with more info for you. Please subscribe, share, like, and we'll see you again soon. All
All
right.
right.
Bye,
Bye,
friends.
everyone.